All right, I've welcome back for the episode of Carnivore Trades. Today is Wednesday, January 31st, 2024. If you're not done so already, please give the video a thumbs up, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. Come find me on carnivoretrades.com for swing trading alerts, analysis, and live day trading. Last day to get in on the deal, 60% off for your first month for active trader. Just had an awesome January. Closed out 30 trades, 26 winners. So really awesome start to the year, and I'm excited to be doing it with everybody. We've had a good time so far. Anyways, let's get into it today. So we have a confirmed top in place. So if you guys know what I look for, what have I been saying every day in here? We need a high volume. You need a reversal on high volume. And we have 119 million shares. It's 4:11 p.m. So a little bit, a few after hours blocks there going off, but it was 100 million by the close, and it'll go a lot higher by the end of the after hours here too. But spiders here finishing down 1.63%. So that is a confirmed top with volume confirmation. So that's all I need to see. I've been saying buy the dip, buy the dip, buy the dip. Give give bulls the upside bias. Unless what? You get a high volume sell, meaning 100 million shares on the spiders. We're now at 123, so more blocks going off here in the after hours. I'm seeing bonds get a pretty good bid here in the after hours as well. So on the long end, interesting stuff. So what happened today? Again, Powell kind of shot down the whole dovish narrative, said no rate cut in March. Market had that priced in. And, what have we been all saying, right? Like the market's way ahead of itself here. 6 rate cuts priced in. And, we're not really seeing the data that the consumer is slowing down. This market's really ahead of itself here. And so Powell shot that down. Now, you might say, well, what if we're right back up tomorrow? I would say that's unlikely. Again, the volume confirms this move. So first stop here is, we'll have a little bit here. You've got some support, the 20 moving average with the previous all-time high, which for the bulls credit, we did close above that on the monthly. So that's a big positive for the bulls. But short term here, short to medium term, that's a top. So your next level here is 4,800. Actually, 4,790 is kind of my level. But, you got the 20 MA. So we'll probably get there tomorrow. And then, you'd look for some type of a bounce there. And then I would say probabilities dictate a lower high. And then we start talking about levels here on the downside. You got 4715, 4700, whole round number. Then you've got a big support level down here at 46. There's also a minor pivot here at about 4630, 4640 from the March 2022 highs. So lots of levels here on the downside. And you guys know I have not entertained any downside levels for a while, but I'm entertaining them now because this is a topping signal. So I feel confident and comfortable saying that. And you guys know I've been kind of banging my fist on the table, not to short the market, not to get ahead of yourself until we get this. And now we have that. I have been saying lately, we got to be cautious though. Why? Euphoria, AMD, right? SMCI, which, somehow, the bots just love this thing. It was up today, even when a down market, the NVIDIAs of the world, Microsoft, by the way, take a look at that candle on Microsoft, 46 million shares. Ugly. Look at this buy the dip. I want to know who was buying this dip here. They got faded hard all day long, down 2.7%. Big move for Microsoft there. Outside move down, so 397.58. Obviously, Google yesterday earnings, rising wedge. Keep an eye on that. 50 MA should get a bounce there, but a break of that, could take you down into that 130, maybe that 200 moving average area. We mentioned AMD a minute ago. That actually was okay, down 2.5, but it came off the lows, right? And it closed above the previous all-time high, again, on the monthly. So semiconductor still showing a little bit of relative strength, at least some of them. The SMH, which we'll talk about in a minute, down 1.5% on volume. So I do think there's a top in place there. But that doesn't mean they're going to crash. Again, we're not talking about meltdown or anything like that. But I do think this market, we saw the signs of euphoria, and I think we're seeing that kind of snap back now. All right, so we talked about levels on the spiders. Let's look at the Qs. Again, back below this trend line here, and I can zoom that out. Been wondering when we would hit that again, because we just blew through it like it was nothing. But Right here, you can see pivot high, pivot high, pivot high. We got above it, and we're back below. So again, big level down here. You got the 20 DMA. You got this pivot high at 413. And then below that, I'll just leave it for now. Then below that, the near previous all-time high is 408.71. So if we get below that, we get a close below that level, especially a weekly. And if that coincides with a close below 47.90 on the spiders, we're going to have more selling. So that's kind of what we would look for. That would be your first step as the bears to kind of get done, first step on the checklist. But again, we're not going to go down in a straight line. There's going to be good bounces. And, how deep can this sell go? I think we can definitely go to 390 on the Qs, 387. That's not really even that far. I mean, if you just take a fib here, it's a 50% retrace of the October move. And then you got your 618 at 375, 376. The spiders, same thing. There's a lot of support at 46. There's a lot. And then through that, there's your 382, and then you got a 50% here at 45. Your 618 at 44.20. Again, we're not going to go down there in a straight line. We're not going to go down there by February OPEX, right? We're not calling for a crash, but this, you can't go to the moon without having a corrective move, right? You got to give some of it. Doing this long enough to know you only go up for so long before you got to give some of that back. Market participants get off sides. Selling vol is great. They've been selling vol every day until you get basically a bank failure with New York Community Bank. This was very interesting, and I thought that this was very suspicious. Powell was not asked about this in his press conference, and this morning, it's almost like they were trying to force him to be a dove with this move down here. And you saw the KRE down 6%, never a good thing when the financials are lagging. But he had every excuse to be a dove, and he wasn't. So that's what the situation here. Now we got to talk about the Russell 2000. I thought this morning, I'll admit that I was wrong on this, and I actually took a little paper cut scalping this today because the Russell was strong all day long. Take a look at the intraday IWM, little spike down and then up, and it was sideways versus the spiders and the Qs down all day long. Russell was showing relative strength. Looked like there was rotation. Outside move after the reaction, right? So we had new highs of the day. We went green, whereas nothing else was green. Usually when the Russell leads, it's a big, bullish indicator. And even kind of this week, you had a nice little bull flag starting to form there on the Russell. And I told you guys, said don't expect it to get through 200, but I didn't think this would happen. I didn't think we'd cut through this entire inside bar pattern. So that's a failure. But, what a rejection, right? So big move there. Looks like a lower high now confirmed. Don't want to take this out. If you do, you're going to 179, which I kind of think it's going there anyway. But right now you got the 50 MA. That's your next level. Then you got the pivot low. We've already hit it once at 187. But we just, a really remarkable reversal for the IWM. This was strong, and it was strong this morning. It was strong, earlier this week, and it literally changed intraday. So pretty good outside move there, down 2.44. Dow engulfing, right? Engulfing reversal with an uptick in volume. You've got a little support here, 378, 20 MA, through that 370. That's your big level. And then through that, again, I've been telling you guys, this is why, you consolidated here, but you didn't catch up. You just got to catch up to price. So any breakout attempt is likely going to be short-lived. And right now we're still green for the week. We close red with the week, you're going to have a pretty good tail candle. But my issue with the Dow is on the weekly, did you build any support on this move up? And everybody should be able to answer that. The answer is no. So your next level is really down to 355 if this area, this 370 goes. So that's my issue with the Dow right now. And engulfing reversal, those are your short-term levels there, though. SMH, we briefly touched on, so down 1.4 with volume. You'll have some support at the 20. And then through that, we'll look at 177. There's a gap, 50 MA. There's lots of levels down here. And then 165 is ultimately your big level. Then you got 155 and 161. So lots of levels down here for the semis. So lots of levels, but we'll see how this comes out again. Yes, last week we talked about this possible little distribution signal, right? Uptick in volume, tail candle at the highs, overbought, extended, needs to pull back. So you guys get the idea. But that was down. Let's look at the SOX too. So still holding the 20 moving average, and again, right into that 4,200 handle. You got the 50 MA, and there's a little support there if we get through that. Remember, there was that bull flag I was telling you guys about, to not fight it beneath 4,100. So right in that area, there should be a little bit of support as well. All right, IGV also coming down. So this has been the king of the market, just does not go down. A little island, right? I talked about this last week. Got a lot of islands here, some gaps. So be careful with it. There's a big gap down here that never filled too. So again, your short-term level is going to be 410, right? And then if we get through that, you got the gap down there, but you got the 50 MA. There's lots of other minor levels, but from a macro perspective, that's where we would look. And again, from a macro perspective, that 430 level is holding right now. So that's the IGV there. The Dow transports this was an absolute whip fest. So now we can say, by the way, look at the intraday here. A gap up, sell, V shape down, back up, bull flag, ripping higher, pull back up, and then a puke into the end of the day. This here though is a failure. So you have an inside bar, picture perfect, ready to go higher. You close below that, close below the 50. That's a failure. Dow transports, I no longer even like it at 15.2. Maybe for a quick bounce. This might need to go to 14.7. I'll have to redo the numbers and so on and so forth, but that is a failed pattern. So respect that. And you have a lower high now. So I would be careful here with DJT. Definitely not a good look. All right, let's get over here to interest rates. So again, here's the dollar index, by the way. Dollar, again, still just holding that bull flag. Again, everybody got really bearish on the dollar this morning, I noticed, and bearish on yields. And that V-shaped and pretty much didn't look back outside of that little dump that we had post-FOMC. This is still acting really well. It's still going to 104.35. I might even upgrade my price target a little bit just because we've based for so long. With dollar index holding up, 2-year, that did back off pretty sharply. So that bull pattern no longer, I mean, you're basically hanging on to it by a thread. I don't really see the 2-year going that much lower though, but it's definitely on the weaker side here. So that needs to be respected. 5s, that may get down to this level after all. I've been looking for that for a while. And the same thing with the 10. It could certainly get down to this level, but that's really all the downside I see. I know everybody's going to get super bearish on yields here, and I'm not really seeing it. So we'll see if they pull back here a little bit more. But again, there's still floors under yields, and secular inflation is still a thing. I know there's going to be short-term shocks. There's going to be short-term cyclical stuff. The reason yields are down so much today is because of the bank problems. But I don't see them going much lower here. And again, those yellow lines are there for a reason. So, all right, XHB. So that took a hit today as well, down 1.87, but still holding pattern here. So on the weekly, you're like, this is still fine. I mean, I can't believe I'm even saying this, but this is still fine. Despite the rest of the market selling off sharply today. And this was down 2%, but again, until it gets below this green on a weekly close, it's still fine. So believe it or not, home builders are still holding up. VNQ, this is in a lot of trouble. So you guys know the level. So 83.24, for below that by Friday at 4 p.m., that's a failure, and that's going lower. But right now, it's still inside bar, but definitely on the weaker side. Not good price action there. Volume behind that sell-off, too. XLF, red to, or say green, yeah, green to, red to green to red day, right? So we gapped down, and we rallied up, and then came back in. So XLF down 1 1/4. Again, JPM has been a powerhouse, made a new all-time high again today, then reversed. The problem obviously is with the KRE down 6%. It had a good pattern to go higher, and this is definitely starting to look a lot more broken. Volume behind the sell-off. If you take out this pivot, it's probably going down to 45.50. So just be aware of that on the weekly. It's still not broken, so you could still recover by the end of the week. But daily chart definitely starting to show signs of cracking. Obviously, it doesn't really need to be elaborated on as to why. I would hope not. But there you have it. KBE down 4.25. Again, weekly, still fine, but definitely weaker. A little uptick in volume there as well. Broker dealers outside move down, possible lower highs there. That should bounce around the 50 moving average, but ultimately I think this comes back down to test 500 before it's all said and done. All right, oil here, that did come in a little bit again today, but nothing terrible. Again, this is coming down because of the bank issues. People are scared of deflation and recession and so on and so forth. I don't really see why that's happening, but you're getting these knee-jerk moves. This could inch a little bit lower. I wouldn't rule it out, but I don't see a lot of downside for it in the short term. And if this stays in this range, you can make a case you just have bullish consolidation beneath these pivots. So I don't really see anything terrible there for oil, although it did pull back, obviously. But we'll see how it does at 75, and we'll see how it does at that 20 period moving average. If you put in a higher low, there's nothing to say it doesn't go higher here. XLE, pretty good reversal down $1.60. So we talked about 86, didn't quite get there. Reversal off of yesterday's, basically yesterday's high. Plenty of room for higher lows here, though. So nothing terrible here for XLE. Same thing with XOP. There's room for higher lows. That may need to go down and test, we'll say like 128. OIH, a little bit on the weaker side. I did take profits on this, just so if you guys are following me in this trade. This might go down and test double bottom, maybe even pierce it. You guys know I had a level down there that never quite got tagged. We'll see if that happens in the short run. But again, I don't really see a ton of downside here for it either. But it did pull back in down $7, down $6.80 there. It's 2.25% decline. CCJ, kind of a nothing burger here today. Uranium just kind of shrugging at the market. That's kind of its own thing right there. URNM can still, it basically got to close to 56, right? We talked about that. It got kind of close, and then obviously your double top there at 58 is the next level. Nat Gas, kind of a nothing burger here, up 5 cents. Needs to get above 216, and then it can go try to work into that gap there. But pretty good gap down, or not really a gap down, because it technically isn't, but that's what it looks like on the chart. But 216 is your area, then it can try to work back up towards 260, 270. We already talked about the dollar. Let's go to gold. So pretty good rejection there for gold at 2075. Nothing really terrible here, though. It's still holding up. And again, when there's fear, when there's bank problems, gold can do a little bit better, especially if bonds are bidding. But it did come in off the highs here. So on the bigger time frames, gold is fine. Silver on the weaker side, though, down 17 cents. I don't know what to make out of this right now. If this consolidates this little move, it can push back up to 24.50. If it starts to come back down and you take this pivot out, you guys know it's going down to 21.25. Platinum, little inside day today, but nothing really wrong with that. Palladium managing to carve out a small gain. That needs to get above 1,000. And then copper here was all over the map, got all the way up to 395 and pulled back in here. I don't know what this wants to do, honestly. You got resistance here and you got resistance above 4, but that's all I would really say with that right now. Bitcoin here, finally pulling back, so a little lower high there potentially. So we talked about resistance here around 44, right? Red bar, that's where you broke down, and it's pulling back. That's what it's supposed to do. That's what should happen. Now what it comes down to is, do we get a higher low here? If you pull back into 40 and you put in a higher low, or even pull back to 41, somewhere in there, it can work its way back up, but there's a lot of resistance here. So it's going to need to work through that, and you're going to need to eat through that supply. On the downside, obviously if we close the week below 40, that's problematic. But right now it's holding up. Again, so just taking a look here, let's just take a look at the after hours just to see. Yeah, so we're right at the lows. Sometimes you get after you get a big sell, sometimes you get a bounce. So we kind of got one at the 4 o'clock there. But again, down over 1.5%, over 100 million shares. That's a confirmed top. I've been saying buy the dip for a while, and now I'm saying don't fight this until we get a good correction. You will have support at 47.90. There will be a little support here at probably 47.20 tomorrow, the 20 MA, but this is kind of the big level. Bears especially you get a weekly close below that, you can make a case now you've got a failed breakout. So that's a big deal. But that's what I'll be watching here tomorrow. Remember, Apple, Amazon tomorrow as well after the bell. That's going to be a big one. And we'll see. The weekly close will tell us a lot more here. But as of right now, I'm in the camp that we have a high in place. And the way that gets disproven is a weekly close above the high. So keep it simple. And usually that will work out for you. So anyways, guys, got it wrapped up here. You guys take care. Come find me on CarnivoreTrades.com. Take advantage of that offer. I'll see you guys all tomorrow.